Welcome to your first bonus episode of Shuffle, Skip, Repeat, where we talk to an array of familiar faces about their favourite music whilst getting to know a little more about them in the process.
We are your hosts, Lorcan and Yuki, and we are kicking off with a very special first guest. He's not only a renowned male model, but also a fashion entrepreneur with an impeccable sense of style. Please welcome to Shuffle, Skip, Repeat, the incredibly talented David Gandy.
Thank you so much for joining us today, actually.
Pleasure.
I'm really excited
Absolute
about having
pleasure.
you on. We've got lots of really fun questions for you. You look nervous.
I know.
Not bad questions. One of the most recognisable faces in male fashion, or in fashion in general. Talk us a little bit more about how it started for you, because I know when you were younger, you seen kind of a bit of a difference between the males and the females in the game, and you made a conscious effort to kind of go for where they're at, if that makes sense.
You've made sense completely. We're in the only industry where, not the only industry, but it probably is one of the only industries where the women are on a different level, a different platform to the guys, really. And not just with pay and fame and sort of being recognised. You know, they're recognised outside of the industry. And I'm quite a curious person. So I always just, when I got into the fashion game and I was observing for many years, and I just sort of questioned it and sort of, why is this? And sort of looked into it. And if I got a chance to work with them, sort of asked how they kind of did it. Because there was no really role model outside of the industry, in the male industry, to sort of speak to as a mentor and everything else, because everyone sort of seemed to hit a ceiling, and then they thought that was it, and then they would either go on to something else, and I was always sort of questioning that. And it was the point that you know you had to brand, really. That was the idea, that you could be a name. There's plenty, you know, so many big male models that were names within the industry. And you would recognise me, you know, if I showed you campaigns and famous campaigns, you'd go, okay, that's a guy, but you'd not know their names. So to be able to sort of brand and give that kudos to a brand, your name had to be out there, kind of thing. So, and that's what we did. And obviously the platform for that, or the catalyst, was Light Blue in 2006. And then, I suppose I always say I wouldn't be here without that campaign. And moved on from there.
And you talk about Light Blue. Would you say that was kind of a turning point, so to speak, for your career? Because that campaign still runs today, which is unheard of. Would you say that was a real pivotal moment for you?
It was the pivotal moment. That's why I say I wouldn't be here without it. There have been, you know, many pivotal moments. It's not just, you know, based on that. And other, you know, pivotal to me, because I knew what led to that campaign. So there was a meeting with Dolce Gabbana. I shouldn't have been there. It was orchestrated by my agency to get them to get me in front of them. That led to the campaign with Stephen Meisel. That campaign led me to doing the show, and then from that show, then the negotiation started for the fragrance, and I went from the show to that. Also started my shot with a photographer, and we completely had to change how I was perceived, my image perceived in the industry, because I was doing a lot of commercial catalogue work, and we had to give that all up to, you know, sort of perceived as slightly more editorial, slightly more fashion based. So of course we had to do shoots and give up everything else, all on the commercial work, to go and do that. So that was a big sort of catalyst to how we got there. There's been many, you know, there is that one shoot, and I shot with Lawrence Thomas. And, I know that a couple of those images led to people completely thinking differently about, sounds very strange to people, but you know, perceiving me differently within the industry. And they were like, okay. So yeah, we kind of get it a little bit now. You're not just sort of catalogue commercial. And that led to sort of Dolce.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's been shot a few times now, and it's been you each time, but the female counterpart has changed. Is that right?
The girl has changed. Yeah, I've been a bit slutty on the Light Blue.
But that's impressive in its own way, I think, as well, that they've asked you back every time and kind of.
Yeah, they Bianca Borti joined. I was with her the other day, actually, because we were launching the next campaign. In Paris, and we couldn't quite remember, but it was either 2012 or 2013. Bianca came along, and the thing is about the campaign is I was more the domineering figure in the first probably 2, maybe 3. And then then the story evolved to the female being more dominant in many ways, or as dominant as the male. And Bianca Balti came on, and she's very Latin and very Italian and absolutely brilliant to be around. But she was just the light blue girl. As soon as she walked in, you went, okay, so you're the light blue girl. We kind of get that, like, so. And we've been working, ever since. I sort of call her my work wife kind of thing. My light blue life is her as my wife in that, really, at the end of the day, or girlfriend. So it's lovely to see her, and we're with her. I've seen her children grow up, and now she's seeing my children grow up. I'm bringing our children on set, so it's quite weird.
Did you, like, growing up, did you always know that you wanted to be a model?
No. I didn't even know I wanted to be a model when I was a model, to be honest. It was I never aspired. I don't think guys did. We're talking quite a while ago now, by the way. We're talking over 20 years ago. Very, very different times of, now guys are asking me, and especially online, how do I get into modeling? How can I do what you do? You wouldn't have got that before. The top guys, 20 odd years ago, the time before that, didn't talk about modeling. A lot of the time they said we were in advertising, or we were in media or something like that. So, and of course, we're a lot more sort of open now, and times have changed, and it's not, and people men aspire to be models. Yeah. And I always thought it was quite slightly strange anyway, because actually if you took one of the industries where everyone wants to be part of, so you took movie stars and sports stars and music stars, they all kind of want a fragrance or a campaign for a clothing brand. So They all kind of want to model in many ways. So it was slightly peculiar why men never really admitted it. And I was one of the first to go, I'm a male model at the end of the day. And you had all of course, the Mickey taking and connotation to go along with it.
But pay the mortgage at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It did pay the mortgage. And everyone just said, "Is it like Zoolander?" Because that's the only reference they had was Zoolander, really, at the end of the day. So I said, "No, I know a few Zoolanders. There are a few around." They made me laugh, but it's been a journey.
And sticking kind of with past work, but bringing in a bit of a music theme, you starred alongside J-Lo in the first Love music video, didn't you?
I did.
How did that come about? Where did you shoot it? And what was it like working with her?
We shot it in a very cold salt flat, about 3 hours outside LA. And it was, like, you would not believe the weather, as in it was so hot during the day, but there was a sandstorm. Then it was bitterly cold. And when I say sandstorm, like, the rest of the crew had goggles and sunglasses gaffer taped to them so they couldn't get sand. And it was chaotic. And me and J-Lo, I was not in very much. I was topless as always. And J-Lo wasn't wearing much as well. And we were freezing. Somehow she got a pizza delivered out there. I'm still not sure. Wow. Only J-Lo, she was like, do you want to, like, everyone, like, we were starving hungry, she went, we want pizza. And I was like, how did you get a pizza out here? She's like, it's gorgonzola and something. I was like, this sounds delicious.
Just got a helicopter in.
I don't know. I didn't ask any questions. I ate it. That was basically it. And no, it came about, she had seen a few things I was doing. At first I couldn't make it. And then actually J-Lo called me and said, can you come and do it for me? And you don't say no to J-Lo. So I was like, okay, I'll be on my way.
Because she's said, like, openly, like, you are, like, her celeb crush.
Yes,
so,
that's very kind.
Yeah. That's quite a compliment.
Something to do with the nose, she said. I think she said, like, he's not actually very good looking. He's got a big nose. Something like that. But she's very sweet. We got to work together again about a year ago, 18 months ago. We did the Dolce Gabbana sunglasses. The thing is, the thing is with J-Lo, she's just the loveliest lady, and so talented at everything, at acting and dancing and singing. And I mean, I'm pretty talentless compared to her. And we were shooting, and we're like, right. And every time there's got to be some sort of dancing with her. But you're not just like dancing with another model who you've kind of just got a little kind of like two-step kind like that. J-Lo goes into this like routine, and I just stand there and go, oh God, like this is and she says to me, she went, you hate this, don't you? And I was like, yes, I do. And that's absolutely true.
Take a photo. So sticking with music, so obviously you're a J-Lo fan. What else does David Gandy like listening to in your spare time? What would be found on your playlist?
You see, I was brought up on very old school my mum loved Motown, she loved soul, so it was Al Green, it was Marvin Gaye, it was the Commodores, and that's, to this day, that is what is played in my car. My daughter is singing to the songs I was singing to and got to know them. She doesn't really know the names of them. She's only 4, what we were singing the other day, but yeah, and she was trying to describe the song that she wanted. And I was like, what are you? And it was sitting on the dock of the bay, and she was like, the beach one, the beach one. And I was like, what beach one? And I was like, sitting on the dock of the bay by Otis Redding. And yeah, so we were singing along to that. But there was my grandparents used to live in London, and we lived about 30 miles outside London. So every Friday we would drive into London. My dad worked in Kent. So he would leave work, and then he would come from Kent, and my mum would take the dogs and the kids, and we would meet there. And then on the way back, there was a sort of unspoken rule that my sister went with my dad, and I went with my mum and the dog. And my dad never played music in the car, and my mum would have her mixtapes of Motown and everything else. So and this lovely memory of being at my grandparents' house, like we would eat and laugh, and then being quite young, just falling asleep with the dog in the back of the car. Everything. It was just great memories, and every one of those songs, but a lot of it was Hall & Oates. So Hall & Oates, like she's gone, like my mum had like all their albums. It's probably one of my favorite, like my sort of go-to. It's not particularly that happy song, but it's like, it's happy for me if you kind of get my meaning. And I just expand that, and sort of delved into Motown a bit more, and sort of, now play my mum some stuff and go, oh, you'll love this by Donny Hathaway, and you'll love this. And then sometimes I play it and my mum go, I know that song. Like, I bought that when I was 14. No, okay. So, yeah, that's what I still sort of love listening to.
It's those early memories there.
Yeah.
I love hearing someone's earliest memory of music, and what, like, as you said, it could be anything, could be sad, could be happy.
Yeah.
But it's like that first kind of moment in their head that they can.
There's a really, and I don't know, sometimes a song comes on and it could be a happy song, but when you don't know why, but something was going on at that time that you just relate that song to. You go, I don't like this song. I go, why don't you like this song? Because and you can't quite remember. And one of the songs that is never on my list, but it is Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. It's a really happy. I don't really like the song, but when it comes on, it makes me extremely happy. I cannot remember why, and I vaguely remember it's something to do with school. My mum in the car, and we were driving together, and it was just for some reason a really good memory. No idea why though. I just sort of relate it.
There's a cover of that, isn't there? Is it Westlife?
No, it was Westlife.
Yeah.
I'm a bad Irish person.
Exactly.
I'm not allowed to go back now. I'm going to take my passport off me.
The original's better though.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. I can't believe you said She's Gone. Like, I don't know that much Hall & Oates, but like can you sing, by the way?
Goodness no. Not well.
Give us that would be really big. Go ahead. I thought that's what you were setting up there. Give us a line or two.
No, because it's one of
there's
those
a few.
ones
There's She's Gone, Say It Isn't So, Rich Girl. Like, there's this great. They were, and they still are. And actually, is it Daryl Hall who started following me? Is it Daryl Hall? Or John Oates. Anyway, I think they're both big car fans, and I'm a massive car manufacturer, and he is as well. So I followed his car build of his Porsche 356, and of course I was liking, and this is amazing. And then he followed me, and I was like, oh my God. And I never really get excited about something like that. And I was on my best friend, I was like, Daryl Hall and John Oates are both following me on Instagram. They're like commenting, and then they're commenting on my car build as well. So
there you are doing,
and I really want to say,
exactly.
I really want to be that fan. Just go, oh my God! Like, I want to tell you how much like I listen to your music, but I never have so far. I tried to play it cool, but if I met them, I wouldn't play it cool whatsoever.
We were discussing just that quite recently on another episode, that it's so lovely, particularly in the industry, when you've met everyone under the sun and you've done every campaign under the sun, you've worked with every brand, but you still have that little bit of joy that you kind of keep to yourself, and you've just described it perfectly, where it's that you're kind of go to relax, I suppose, and unwind, and still get excited about someone, which I think is really lovely.
No, I think music does that as well. I don't go to. I'm not a big concert person. I love music. Music is always the first thing I do in the morning. Is literally put the coffee machine on and go to Spotify and put. It could be radio, it could be music. there's always, I have to have music on, like all the time. And but I don't really go to concerts or festivals or anything else, which people find quite strange, because they say you love music but you don't. But I'm just not a big crowd sort of music, like festival kind of person. But the only one we did go and see, it was a Royal Albert, and it was Tony Bennett. And there was a time, and it was, and again, it's another memory, because my grandfather wasn't very well at the time, and I think he had just died, and I went to go and see the concert, and Tony Bennett switched off everything within the Royal Albert Hall, just had double bass, and he sang "Fly Me to the Moon," just acoustic, whether you call it acoustic, but it was. And of course, the acoustics of Royal Albert Hall are incredible, and you just like. And I remember the person I was with at the time, she wasn't really into music, and she sort of came out, she went, "I get now what a singer is." And I said, "Yeah, exactly, that's a proper singer." And when I was walking out, I just went to the box office and said, "Have you got, just by any chance, Louise here, have you got anything?" And she went, "I've got a box for like tomorrow night." And I said, "I'll take it." And I just called up my mum and dad and went, you have to come and see this." Like, my mum's father had just died, so I said, "Just come and see it." And she says, like, when she heard that, she'd still, she broke down, because it reminds her of that period. But it was just, I think one of the I would love to sing Frank Sinatra, of course. But Tony Bennett at the Royal Albert Hall singing like that, it was like, I went to go and see him again like 2 years later. I was literally on that queue for, you are one of 3,000 people.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started with those queues.
So I managed to get in as well. I'm getting again, so I went back to go and see it, which was pretty cool.
Such a lovely story.
Yeah. I was going to say, so you don't like concerts, which I get. Like, I get like the whole festival thing. But if you could have your own curated concert, let's say in your living room.
Not just me.
Well, I mean, you and family, whoever you wanted, a special selection, or just yourself. If you had to choose 3 people, dead or alive.
To sing?
Well, to see, yeah.
Oh my good, Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
No, even question. That's a hard one. Because I could say it and then I'll be driving home thinking, I didn't say that one. I didn't say that person. I'm trying to think it's a real toss-up. You've got to have either Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett. Mm-hmm. And they did sing a duet together, so I might have to pull that one to say I'll have both of them sing in New York, New York. And then it's hard to sort of name another person.
It's a strong list, as it is.
Hard not to have Aretha Franklin, maybe Etta James. I remember hearing Etta James when I was young, and that was my sort of pivotal moment of understanding. I was like, okay, I get what what a singer should sing, and just just someone's voice, and it sounds like so many musical instruments. But I grew up in so many things. The Bee Gees, like, I think and they're not underestimated but they've written people. I don't think people realize the songs that they have written, not just for themselves, but also for other people. Because there was a time, because they had such success with Saturday Night Fever. I don't know if you've seen this documentary, that disco was then like frowned upon. Like, they were burning disco songs, and they were caught up in this, and they were like, hang on, we're not a disco band. We sang, we wrote songs for Saturday Night Fever, which was about disco, but we're not. But they literally had to have like police escorts. People hated them, and they had to then start writing for other people because people weren't buying their music, and then slowly they came back. But their back catalogue of what they've written is just incredible. And it's always good to have a Bee Gees song.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite?
What was I'm trying to think of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack now. My goodness, I mean, Staying Alive is, of course, you can't beat sort of.
Safe bet, yeah.
You just see John Travolta just strutting down the street, really, don't you? So it's pretty cool. It's like how I used to think I looked in New York going to castings, like John Travolta, like strutting down Broadway. Didn't at all whatsoever, but it would have been nice. I mean, How Deep Is Your Love's got to be one of the most romantic songs ever written.
Absolutely.
And they showed in the documentary how that sort of came about. He said, I just got a bit of an idea for a song, and then they had the cassette for when he played it for the first time, which is amazing, which is a gift to be able to write songs like that. is incredible.
And in terms of you just talking about going to casting and stuff, when you're on set, obviously music plays a big part sometimes because it gets people relaxed.
Yeah.
Do you have any say, or is the photographer with the
I
style?
do now.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
The better than David Gandy now. Is like,
listen, you have to pay your dues.
you bring the aux cord yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it makes a massive difference. When we were shooting Wellware for the first time, and like sort of our art director, he was into the same music as me, which was old school, but we had to have this positive energy. And there's not, and I don't think anyone, I sort of think the Motown and soul, it bridges so many gaps between people. There's no one that actually really hates it. There's people that love it. I don't think anyone hates it. I think people go, yeah, we'll listen to it. Yeah. So it's so many sort of mixes and people and some are loving like modern stuff and dance and garage, and then some are old school, and then some are heavy rock, and then like you put Motown, it's like you can just see everyone's foot just starts sort of tapping. So that was just our playlist all the time. We had to have everyone dancing and positive and capturing this moment which we needed, and it was just Motown and soul and R&B that just went on all day. So I do have my playlist now that goes on now and again.
No, you go ahead. I've talked too much. She tells me off after. She's like,
no, I usually kick, but I mean, you're bent slightly that way. Tell us a bit more about.
We'll let it out because you'll get cancelled.
We'll keep it in. Tell us a bit more about Wellware.
So Wellware came about. I had a collaboration with M&S for 6 years. I was working with them for nearly 8 years. And we had David Gandy for autograph.
Remember it well. I think the nation remembers it
well.
That sounded really pervy, actually. I'm going to edit that out as well. I meant because it was everywhere. It was massive. It was very popular.
It was, yeah. It was. We had great success with it. It was over 6 years. But I just wanted. I had always a dream of having my own label, my own fashion line. I still loved the concept of what we did with Autograph. We kind of 6-7 years ago, loungewear didn't really exist as a category of its own, so we kind of came up with that concept, and the concept was just beautifully made essentials, but attainable to everyone. So that was the real essence of what Wellware was about. But we had to move that narrative along, to differentiate ourselves from the brands and from M&S, the range I did there. So we started looking into what could be done with fabrics and bringing in, a bit like sort of modeling. I was curious about really what else was out there and how we could do this in a responsibly sort of sustainable way. And we found out that you could put technical treatments within clothing. So like an antibacterial, anti-odor, which of course means you wash your clothes less, which of course means they last longer, which is better for the environment. And then we looked into it a bit more, and then the designers, Claire, said, well, you can have an aloe vera treatment so that you are moisturizing your skin whilst wearing our loungewear or pajamas, which I thought was just genius. And hence that, we went through a million names, couldn't quite work out how to put them all together, where it should be David Gandy, we came up with other ones, and Wellware was going to be sort of just a clothing with the treatment, but it said everything we needed to say, and to bring in this apparel and wellness for the first time. So we've created almost a different category of clothing, keeping it as attainable to everyone as possible, but also keeping it as a responsible brand. When I say responsible where it's made, responsible about who is making it in the conditions it's being made in, responsible with the materials, organic cottons and Better Cotton Initiative and natural. As many sort of natural fibers we can use, and then come out with sort of different concepts. So the concepts of swimwear, again, which we had great success with at M&S, but everything's a polymer and acrylic, which if it ends up in landfill, which a lot of our clothing does, it doesn't break down for 50 odd years, constantly releasing carbon into the air. So we found a biodegradably enhanced material that breaks down within 2 or 3 years. So it breaks the cycle of what we're sort of dealing with at the moment, which is very, very heavy production of sort of polymers and polyesters. So we're constantly thinking outside the box, but still trying to, it's not an easy thing, trying to make this all attainable at a price point for everyone. Because what we're doing is pretty much what luxury brands should be doing, and we're rivaling the quality and style of luxury brands, but still making, as I said, like, so everyone is attainable to as many people as possible.
I think it's fantastic. It's a really great thing, that you're doing, and I think trying to make it.
It's a massive team effort. It's not just me, of course.
I'd be the opposite. I'd be like, I'm fucking amazing. I'm not gonna lie. What's your? Because obviously there's a lot that goes into it. As you said, and there's a big team. What's your favorite element? Because there's a design phase, there's the selling phase, there's the PR phase, there's the shoots, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite part to do? And you can't say all of it because.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of phases. That's all those things. What you've said are the fun sides. The other fun sides are dealing with factories and dealing with lead times and dealing with and having to get investment and dealing with the money side and everything else. So that is collaborations are much easier. I can say that. But this is all part of being a founder of a brand. You have to sort of deal with that and know where the brand's going to be in hopefully 5 years and have that goal and push for it. I love that. I mean, when I say designer, I'm creative director, founder of the brand. I can tell you where I think the brand should be and the direction that the brand should be going in. But my job, the designer's job, Claire and the rest of the team, is we collaborate together. To say what we think should be, what we all want to wear, what's desirable, and Claire designs it and puts it into, puts it everything. It's amazing because actually you're going from an idea to then a sort of paper to computer to factory to samples to when some of them are disaster, some of them are great. And sometimes you fall on something that you didn't think was going to be great, but has worked out really well. So that's the exciting part. I love bringing other models in. We cast other models. I don't just use myself. I'm trying to get behind the camera, not in front of it. So I love giving that opportunity to some great models coming through at Select Model Agency, who I've been with for 22 years, and I love casting the models. And I have this vision in my head of how I want the creative to be, and they have to bring that to life, like I've had to do for other people. But I quite enjoy that they're doing it now, and not just me. So it's I love the process of it. I really do.
Since obviously you know what you're doing and you know what you want.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but
is it? Do you make it easy for them, or do they get a bit nervous because obviously you're behind the camera?
I've never really asked them, so I probably should, but I think I make it very easy for them. We had a guy called Charlie Boy's just coming, and you always notice a guy or a girl who they have something different about them that if they want to, they're going to be very, very successful. And as soon as I saw this Charlie, and he's a farmer from Yorkshire, but looks like old school Abercrombie and Fitch, Ralph Lauren, and lovely guy. And I just said, Charlie, if you want this, it's there for you. Taking for this, you are one of the best I've seen for a while. No, hopefully make it really relaxed and really easy. I make a fool of myself on set. One of the things I had to get over as a model was really just making a bit of a tit of yourself on set. And no one really cares. And actually, if you trust a photographer and you trust a videographer, they make it look good. But actually, if you stand there still and you don't really do much, that's not inspiring from anyone. So you've just got to get over that sort of barrier and just sort of realize that, the more you do, a bit like with J-Lo, it's, if I just stood there and I just have fun with it in the end, and I'm not, J-Lo standard dancing, I can dance a little bit. So we just have fun together, and it makes for a great viewing and great video and better content. And I think if I do that, I said to each of the models, when we're asking you to do something, because I know some of the guys there are not going to want to dance and do everything, being a bit stupid on set. I said, but if I'm doing it and you trust me, I will edit everything to make you look so good. Then your confidence is immediately, it's heightened. And that's it's where when you're working with a brand that you trust and when you're working with a photographer that you trust, you know they're always there to make not just the clothes look great. And that's where it's changed before, is that the great photographers will make the model look best. They don't really care about the clothes. It's about the image. It's about the creative. Where the world of social media, of course, it's about the clothing. It's not about the person that's kind of like wearing it. So that's kind of an afterthought. And the brands that you're working with, of course, are looking at the clothing, not the whole image. Worked on a few shoots recently, and this is now changing again because a few of the big photographers are coming back. And again, it's lovely to go back to that because you're seeing real creative again, of this incredible creative director and photographer. So yeah, it's we'll see how that all kind of changes, and hopefully, you know, we will get bigger and the models will grow with us. And we've already seen a couple of the models who have done well where, and then they went on to do Dolce. And one of them was in white pants, and I texted him and went, "Welcome to the white pants game."
I'd have been like, "Don't get too comfortable, mate."
So yeah, it's lovely to see that as well. Like to give other models a platform, an opportunity.
Do you have any tips, your top 3 tips for people that want to get in the industry, especially like male models?
Good question. You know what? I get this asked so many times on social media, and so many people, guys, come up to me as well and ask. The trouble is the industry is not the same as when I came to the industry. It's very, very different. Everyone now is very sort of social media savvy based, and you now, before you had the platform of you know, brands would go to the agent, you'd be cast from the agency, the work would be given with the agency. But of course now you have models just on social media and Instagram. Brands can deal with direct to them, and they're creating the content themselves. They're very successful at it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I love disrupting. I love disruptors, and this is a great way. But it has, of course, with that you're then taking that creativity away from the best photographers. In some ways, the brands aren't using them. Which I'm saying is I think is coming slowly back again, because I think people are tired a little bit of just scrolling through, seeing 50 of the same-esque kind of like pictures. So it's very different, but I can't deny that as a platform to get your image out there, to get known, you know, it can't be beaten. So I can give advice to models, yes, but only probably might have been relevant a longer time ago. But I think that, as I said, that like what I'm going to say with Charlie is, a lot of the other models that we work with. There's a girl called Odell who I think is incredible. You don't have to follow everyone, don't have to be on social media. Of course, what's lovely is that if you're not seen on social media, then you're more exclusive immediately. Yeah. So if you're seen in a brand, you know, you're seen for the first time. So you could follow that. And that's one of my examples that I did, is everyone thinks I've done, you know, shot for so many brands and so many campaigns. And if you actually look, I really, really haven't, because I was so loyal to the brands that I was with. So if I'd shot Dolce Gabbana, my loyalty was Dolce Gabbana. A lot of rival brands asked me to go and do stuff, either shows or shoots and campaigns, and I said no. My loyalty was with Dolce. They gave me my opportunity. I'm going to stay with them. Because you can imagine if you were Dolce, you then did their rivals, Dolce, I'm probably going to say, okay, well, it's lovely to see you, but you're now doing our rival brands. So you don't get loyalty much anymore on anything. So I always sort of say to them, if anyone asks me, I said, loyalty goes a long way still to this day with brands. And you know, what I read when Cindy Crawford, wrote, she said, I always want a marriage with a brand, never a one-night stand, which meant she wanted a long-term contract. So when we're talking about contracts, negotiating contracts, I said, look, we can't do anything in 6 months, a year. Together, to have, to work with a brand is at least 3 years. Maybe 2, but probably 3, for people to have that, to get that it's a genuine relationship. And of course, then people follow suit. But at the moment, it's so quick that it's not even 6 months. It's just every month, someone else is different. But I've been working with Dolce now for sort of 16 years, Jaguar, goodness me, for 10 years, and Marks and Spencer's 8 years, Massimo Dutti, and all these sort of different brands. Being with Vita Pratics now is over 6 years. So we work on that longevity, and it works. So it's something that brands really need to look at. at the end of the day, to look at what has been successful. And if you look at all those great successes, like Michael Jordan and Nike, sort of all those sort of relationships, it's just Chris Turlington and Calvin Klein. They're what that is what works, and people still love that sort of. I think appreciate that sort of it being genuine in many ways.
Completely. I think, it's that authenticity, which is key. And I feel like with social media, it is being eroded slightly. But like you say, it's coming back now.
I think you made a good point. These big influencers, for example, and again, as you said, do what works for you. But if you're posting about a different brand every day, it gets to the point where I'm not going to believe you.
Yeah, I think the clever, we call it influencer. I like to call them influential people because there's different categories. Mm-hmm. I think they are loyal to the brands, and of course, when they're very successful, the brands won't want to let them go because they've been so successful with them. And I think they're a lot. That's the difference. They run it as a business. They're slightly cleverer with their decisions, and they're probably loyal towards. As you say, they won't work with a watch brand, and then the next day work for another watch brand, and another one. The next week, it's a different watch brand. Because then the viewers are saying, well, all the people engaging with that would say, well, it's not. How are you actually engaging with that brand? You're just showing me a product. You're not saying this is a, sort of giving your genuine sort of loyalty to that brand. But I think you do, and that with Dolce, as you said earlier, what people don't realise is that story has moved on. A lot of people think that sometimes is the original shoot, but it has moved on. Until that last one, me and Bianca actually filmed sort of like as if we were having an argument in Capri, and then that sort of like the makeup of it and everything else. So it's constantly expanding. But it's very clever of a brand to do that. Is you got the original story, the origins for Light Blue, but people feel like they're seeing something, they're watching a relationship develop in many ways. So hopefully we never break up. I mean,
you make a good point as well as what we touched on earlier. If people are saying that they think it's the same advert, well, that means they're not looking at the woman because the woman's changed so many times.
I do have to point that out to people.
There's someone else in the advert as well.
Yeah. They said that on social to me the other day. It was a picture of me and Bianca from, I think it was like 3 years ago, which is the one we're using in Paris. And she says, I had that exact advert like 15 years ago. And I said, you didn't.
I hate to make
and I really didn't want to be rude. And she went, oh, of course. Yes, that's not the same. I said, no, it's not. And but then you're seeing something, the beauty of something, you're seeing something different every time. That's the beauty of something creative. Mm-hmm. The mystery of art. Sometimes you look at a picture because you're seeing something different every time. And that's what I think you kind of get with Light Blue, but still the essence of selling that Mediterranean romantic dream in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you touched very briefly there on social media. When you've started it, you said, 23 years ago now?
Yeah, 22 years ago, yeah.
Social media wouldn't have been as much of a focus then. Exactly. But now, throughout your career, obviously it's become more and more prominent. Was it strange when you started off, obviously you were on TV screens and billboards, that people were able to talk back and comment and give their opinion, so to speak, on certain campaigns? Was that quite strange to get used to? Whereas before you're just like, I'm on the billboard, it's mine and wave.
Yeah, it's different marketing, it's different media, and I think it's changed for everyone. Of course, not just for me. I remember when we used to go casting in New York and have 25 appointments, 25 castings, meetings a day. I mean, these were the days when they were sent over by fax. We used to get the fax in the morning and get our maps out. I imagine those days, like call from a telephone box or the hotel room to the agency. Didn't even have a mobile phone. So yeah, it was, those times were, I slightly miss them. Simpler times in many ways. But yes, the trouble with commenting, I always sort of say this, that the fact is, you can have 1,000 comments on a picture, and 995 of them will be positive, and 5 of them might not be, and you remember the 5 and not the others. That's how just the mind works. So you've just got to realise, that not to take it all too seriously.
And do you think, again,
can't talk on your experience. Do you think people sometimes find it easier to make off-the-cuff remarks to male models because they think it's banter and they can kind of take it on the chin, whereas maybe they'd hold back a little bit more if it was, hopefully, this day and age, not as much banter gets thrown towards women?
I think you can say a lot to not just male models, but men in generally more than sort of women, if I'm totally honest. Not sure why that is. Male models, you can, yeah, it's, I suppose I don't have the reason behind it, but yes, I suppose you can do, really. And it's I mean, the fact is just that I think Zoolander I love, but that, as I said before, was sometimes those conversations of what a male model is, that was almost the problem. And everyone thinks they know about the fashion industry. You know, everyone says to me, well, you can't have long left in your career. They've been saying that for 20 years.
Aren't you only 40?
Aren't you old now? Aren't you going on? And you're just like, well, and then you say to people, you go, well, it's a young person's game, isn't it? I said, well, you know, Cindy Crawford's doing okay, and Christy Turner's doing okay, and Kate Moss is doing okay, and Naomi's doing okay.
Yeah.
And they go, oh yeah. And they go, you just haven't really thought about it. You just have these ideas about what it is in fashion, and I sort of, yeah, it's breaking down those sort of barriers. There's a side to it that there's still a lovely mystery almost behind the fashion industry as well. This is why it's still not, and I think anything that is a bit of a mystery, people are, I suppose, curious about. It's why famous people, and I say it's about sort of Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, we still have those guys as the men that everyone looks up to, the men that men want to be. It's because we don't really know much about them. We saw their films and they did so much more, but we don't know anything about their other. So nowadays, you know what most people had for breakfast because they've posted it. There are some, I still think, some Hollywood sort of actors, Daniel Craig, Rachel Weisz, are great examples of that, who don't feel they need to put their life. There's a mystery about them. And I find like when there is a film or when there is an interview or when there's something with them, you're more likely to watch it because you don't know anything about that person. I don't post much. I post about work, but I don't post anything about my family or my children. That's me time. That's that's the side that I go home to and leave everything else behind. The last thing I want to go home, is go home and my children do something, go, let's do it again, and I'll film it and I'll put it on my Instagram. That to me is an absolute nightmare. And my children, of course, will choose when they want to go, on social media. But I'm giving them that choice about whether they want to be or not. Whether in, I say hopefully 15 years or however many years, when, it may have changed. We don't know what we are working at. Social media is an unregulated platform.
Yeah.
I've seen the other side to it. I see the other side to it. I see the brilliances of social media. I also see the side of the 100 fake David Gandy accounts that Instagram do not take down, they do not block, and they fool people into thinking it's me, and they ask them for money, and people send money, and there's fraud. And if they are taken down within 1 minute, a new account is started. That is quite scary, especially as a father, knowing that my children are on social media. They're very young, by the way, but just knowing that for younger people. I mean, I have worked with children at charities and see that impact, and also the impact of that. Just us when I say us, as everyone is obsessed, really, that we are addicted to our phones and addicted to social media in many ways. On that note,
check out our
social
channel.
Song.
Exactly.
She's gone by Hall & Oates.
I think we can, yeah.
But I was going to say, for me, like, it's super enlightening because there is a lot of mystique, I think, around, who you are, and because you don't really showcase that much. And then I think being a male model, like you say, you do have those connotations that are still, I don't know, not just a pretty face, but just, it's a model.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think you pointed out a few people in the acting world, but there's other models, like Kate Moss is probably another one. She doesn't share too much online. Anna Wintour's probably another perfect example. And you made a perfect point that when those people do interviews, you do clue in.
Or do a campaign. That's the difference
exactly.
as well. They're not they don't dilute their brand or dilute themselves too much. So when you hear the name, you're like, oh, I wonder what they're up to. I wonder what they're doing. And it's probably going to be something very good. Daniel Day-Lewis did it in acting. I'm going back to acting again. But Daniel Day-Lewis, again, the same thing. Every film he did was either, you know, as soon as he did it, you knew it was probably going to be an Oscar-worthy film. So you'd go and see it. And he's sort of done it very well. I was very fortunate to meet him and speak to him about that. And I was fascinated by Daniel Davis. We were racing in the Mille Miglia, which is this 1,000-mile race around Italy, and he was racing a car as well. I think he thought I was slightly strange because he was such a mystique, and all you saw was his character, so you didn't know what he was like. So there I was in the morning eating a cereal, and I was literally just like,
eat cereal.
So he looked at me, and we made conversation, and we got on, and he was a wonderful guy. But again, that mystery. But you know, brilliant things. He went off. He actually learnt how to make shoes. Became a cobbler. Year off between sort of making movies, he was saying. And then so he was racing the Mille Miglia, and then just went off and went, I'm going to meet the Italian cobbler who taught me how to make shoes. And I was like, okay, that fascinates me.
Yeah.
Like, that is an interesting person, but you don't know. You know, he just fancied doing it, and whether I don't think it was research, but it was fab. Absolutely amazing.
Plenty of strings to his bow. I think we could probably sit here and chat for a few more hours, but we should let Mr. David Gandy get on with the rest of his day.
It's been a pleasure. I feel like I've been doing most of the talking. So you can edit all that out.
Well, that's the point of this, really. Yeah. But no, it's been fantastic. I really want to find out a bit more about wellwear and, you know, the next 5 years of that. But I really feel like what you're doing and what the team are doing is just, yeah, it's
Thank
great.
you. There's a long time. We're only 18 months old. Of course, that's very, very young for a fashion brand. Still trying to get our name out there and you know, exactly what we're doing and what the brand sort of stands for. So yeah, thank you for having us on and giving us a mention. And hopefully if you ever want us back and see where we are in a few years' time.
And where can people get it as well if they wanted to?
It's online at David Gandy Wellwear at the moment. They can also get it in Selfridges. We're based in Selfridges as well.
That's not a bad place to start
Exactly.
off, is it? But again, benefits of being David Gandy, I suppose. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.